primetime game here on BTN next week. Let's run through it, guys. The final drive on the final drive, a segment so good they named the show after it. One thought on every Big Ten team after week one, and let's start with Lovey's Fighting Illini.
Right. I mean, Lovey said it all, right? You get a win, you go back and you make all the corrections. We started the morning out saying Illinois to get 6, get bowl eligible, how big this game was. It was a big game. The fact that it went right down to the wire, it was ugly, but I think that'll eventually help this team.
Indiana played on Thursday night against Ohio State, played well until the end.
I thought they played really well. I think you look at them from on an offensive side, Richard Lago really stepped up and made the throws. When he was comfortable in the pocket, he could find those receivers. Simi Cobb is going to be an absolute star this year. They've got to find some balance, though. They've got to be able to run the ball a little bit more effectively.
We were just talking about Iowa, your takeaway after the win over Wyoming.
Nothing's ever easy for Iowa early in the season. It seems like there's always some drama involved, and they had Josh Allen today to defend. That was an issue. Brian Ferentz, first-time offensive coordinator, calling the plays. Outstanding effort by the defense. I think the offense got their rhythm a little bit. They were pretty balanced, 200 yards rushing, 200 yards passing. I think that's where they want to be offensively.
One of the biggest stories of the day, probably not just in the Big Ten, but in all of college football, the Maryland Terrapins.
Going on the road into a tough environment, and they found a way to win a football game. Thought they really did a lot of really good things on the defensive side. Offensively, they started to make plays, particularly in the run game. Now they've got to get special teams fixed. That was a little bit of an issue for them today, but it's better to correct those things after a win.
Only 3 matchups of ranked teams going head-to-head on this opening weekend. Michigan, Florida was one of them, and the Wolverines were clearly the better team.
Thought their defense looked crazy athletic, great pursuit, really ready and fired up to play. I thought their offense was really physical. I think that this is the way their offense wants to play. Obviously, one of the most impressive wins over the weekend.
Michigan State got a win it needed to have in the fashion it needed to get it.
Yeah, Coach D'Antonio said in his press conference they had to get from underneath the rock. I think they did that. Real physical football game, ran the ball well, threw it well, really balanced as an offense.
Minnesota, first game for P.J. Fleck, a win over Buffalo.
They're going to have to build that roster. I think we knew that when we went there on the bus tour. But I was impressed with the flow of the game, the discipline of the game. I went back to when we said, is it all fluff or can P.J. really coach? I think that game proves he can coach. He just needs to get a better roster.
Nebraska figured out a way to win.
Really impressive job at the I-back position with Bryant. They found their guy that I think is going to be a star. They still have to figure out that defense, but offensively, the balance that they showed today was outstanding.
Speaking of finding a way, Northwestern.
I thought they were going to get off to a fast start. I thought that that was going to be something that they were going to try to really make a point of emphasis this year, but give them a lot of credit. They won a really tough game. They've gotten better. They've been good in opening games most years. It was an ugly win, but it was a tough Fort win, and it was a good win.
We already talked about Indiana. The flip side of that game, Ohio State.
Ohio State struggled early. There's no question about it, not only on the defensive side, but also in the pass game. They didn't find their rhythm until in the second half when guys started to step up and make plays. Dobbins is going to be a star. They found a star at the tailback position as well.
And, of course, a huge one coming up against Oklahoma. Penn State is a big one against Pitt, and they warmed up impressively.
They did. I think they were impressive in all 3 phases, which I think separates them from a lot of the other teams this weekend. Offense, defense, special teams. Akron, a weak opponent, yes, but Penn State really looks like they've come out of camp ready to go.
Purdue, a loss, but a valiant effort against a nationally ranked Louisville team.
Yeah, a lot of good things in all phases of the game, but they can't turn the football over. They haven't gotten to that point. Really, no team is at that point where you can just turn it over whenever you need to and still expect to win. They'll just have to clean that up.
Similar story in some ways for Rutgers. I think